The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, everyone. It's Michelle from Tenzig Technology. You're in the right spot. And with me today is Jason. Hopefully you can see Jason. Hello. Good morning.
Hi,
Well,
everyone.
it's actually good afternoon there for you, right?
Yeah, near the end of the day.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us. Jason is our Tenzig Technical Solutions Architect. He's our expert today and will be educating us on Microsoft Endpoint Manager. Tony, hopefully you guys can see Tony as well. Tony Kai. He is our regional director of sales. He is the regional director of sales, I should say, with Nerdio. And he's our special guest presenter today. We're going to learn, get a high-level presentation of Nerdio and all of its offerings. So thank you so much for doing this with us today, Tony. Thanks for joining us.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And you're not, where are you located today again? You're out.
I live in New York normally, but we have a company offsite meeting in Orlando, Florida today. So
Oh, thanks so
you're
much.
seeing my my hotel room right in the back.
Good to see your face too. Yeah.
Thank you.
Jason, why don't you go ahead and cue up the first slide? Let me pass presenter over to you. We can get going here today. Let me know if that comes through to you. So yeah, you're in the right spot. This is a Tenzig demo webinar. We're going to walk you through with respect to how does Microsoft Endpoint Manager work, and then we'll be talking with Tony. So thanks for spending time with us today. It's a very exciting day. There's lots of firsts here for us today. It's the first time we're doing a webinar on what I'm going to refer to from now on as MEM, just easier to say. This is kind of by popular demand. A lot of folks have been asking for it, customers and so forth. It's the first time we're working with Nerdio, so that's really awesome. I should say working with Nerdio in a webcast format. Tenzig Technology and Nerdio have a history together, and we get to work with them a lot, so that's great. First time I'm hosting a webinar in GoToWebinar, so please bear with me as we work through this. We have some great poll questions coming up as well, which I'll mention in a second. And for most of you, it's the first time meeting Jason. As I mentioned before, he's our Tenzig presenter today and our Tenzig expert. Wanted to let you know that the webinar will be recorded. You'll get a copy of the recording or a link to the recording. And also all of the demo videos that Jason presents today we'll have up in the Tenzig YouTube channel as well within a few days. So we'll make sure you know where to find those. Again, I wanted to mention Jason is our Tenzig Technical Solutions Architect. And today, through presentations and videos, he's going to give us a technical walkthrough of MEM. He's going to join a Tenzig 6000 Windows 10 IoT Thin Client to Microsoft Azure Active Directory. The device is a Tenzig 6010Q, and you can find information about that device in the handout area. So there should be a reference area. Hopefully you're seeing that and you can pick that up. There's a spec sheet and some information on that product. Speaking of reference area, there is also a full interactive brochure on Tenzig technology, as well as some information on our Tenzig manager. And then I'm sure Tony will be providing us with some great links for information on Nerdio as well during his presentation. Jason's also going to go over auto-enrolling into MEM. He's going to showcase how to create your configuration profiles. And also, as I mentioned before, Tony's going to wrap up with us with an overview of Nerdio MSP and Enterprise Services. So again, one more time, great to have you both here. Just real quickly, a couple more housekeeping items. There will be 3 poll questions during the webcast. So your participation is greatly appreciated. Helps us gauge what the audience is all about. If you're familiar with us or would like to be. Wanted to let you know we will actually be taking questions throughout the entire event and promise to answer them post-event as soon as possible. So in the question area, please feel free to get as detailed as you like there. Know that somebody from one of our tech teams is going to get back to you with your specific use case questions after the event as soon as possible. So don't think just because we're not answering the questions today, we won't be getting back to you with all of the important details. Also, just wanted to remind you, because you registered, We'll be notifying somebody by email if they win the $200 Amazon gift card. And finally, everybody's a winner today because we do have our free demo for a device for 10Zig unit on 10zig.com. You can go onto 10zig.com and look for the free offering there under no obligation. So I think I've gotten all of my important updates out of the way. I'm going to let Jason take over from here, and I'll be coming back in soon with a poll question. I think I'm going to go ahead, Jason, and take myself off of video and mute myself as well. So
Okay,
take
thanks,
it away,
Michelle.
Jason.
Speak to you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. And to Nerdio and Tony in particular for being with us. I'm sure that endpoint management is a topic high on the list of most IT infrastructure teams and will be going forward, even more so in the past 2 years, where more and more people are split between remote and office working. I'm Jason Hudson from 10Zig Technology and have over 30 years experience in the IT industry. I joined the company back in March 2021 after having a 10-year close working relationship with 10Zig as a retail infrastructure architect with Iceland Foods in the UK. I'm a technical solutions architect, and my role is focused on creation and improvement of 10Zig technical content, such as videos, blogs, webinars, and tech support guides. A quick background on 10Zig for those who aren't aware. We're solely focused as a thin and zero client vendor, meaning we understand all there is to know around graphics and audio remoting, from on-premises setups to more recent cloud-based deployments, ramping up recently thanks to Windows Virtual Desktop in Azure. We're headquartered in Phoenix in Arizona with our EMEA office in the UK. We're a long-standing partner with Microsoft, having offered mutual customers on Linux and Windows-based endpoints for RDS deployments, and more recently based on Azure Virtual Desktop. The 10Zig and Nerdio partnership and philosophy is very complementary, where Nerdio's aim is to simplify the deployment, pricing, packaging, management, and optimization. 10Zig's approach is that we make our endpoints fit your environment and not the other way around. 10Zig is built on excellent customer service, and this is why customers buy from 10Zig time and time again, as you'll see from our testimonials. Where we differ from competitors is that we're solely focused and our sales and technical teams are highly skilled EUC specialists through training and certification, and take sales and support to the next level. This demonstration will give you an introduction to Microsoft Endpoint Manager and how you can use it to enroll your 10Zig Windows 10 endpoints. I'll be showing you how to manage them with a configuration profile to create a single secure kiosk for your end users. Part of 10Zig's offering is the 10Zig Manager, which is a free enterprise class centralized management solution. 10Zig Manager offers remote management capability for 10Zig Linux and Windows 10 enterprise clients. Where appropriate, I'll mention where Endpoint Manager and 10Zig Manager complement each other and talk about crossover points where both solutions can achieve a similar result. So with that said, can we have our first poll question, please, Michelle?
Yes, I'm ready to give it a go. Let me launch this for everyone. Hopefully everybody can see this. Very basic. Just, are you using 10Zig Thin or Zero clients already? Are you a customer? Have you demoed it? Yes, no, or planning on the future? It looks like we're getting some good responses. So I'm going to leave this up just for a few more seconds, and then I'll collect the responses. Okay, thank you for participating. All right, it looks like about 70, well, it looks like exactly 71% are not using 10Zig Thin or Zero clients already. So again, great opportunity at the end of the webinar. If you're interested in a free demo and you want to try one out, keep that in mind. I'm going to go ahead and close this down now. And we're ready for you again, Jason. Are you able to see your presentation?
Yeah, could you see it?
I can. We're good to go.
Yeah. Super, let's go.
And we'll move on. Let me know when you need me next.
Okay, will do. Thanks, Michelle. Okay, for the demonstration, we have a specially pre-recorded two-part demo that will focus on the following areas. Part one is approximately 10 minutes, and we'll look at creating a user group with privileges to enroll devices. It will also look at creating a group that contains our device. We'll be setting auto-enrollment of devices as they join the AAD, and we'll also be enrolling the device. Now, part two is about 7 minutes, and we'll focus on creating a configuration profile to set the device in kiosk mode. And then also we'll demonstrate connecting to my AVD client desktop in the Azure AD. So this is the first of the video demos, and like we said, focuses on creating a user group, creating a device group, setting auto enrollment of devices inside Endpoint Manager, and then enrolling our device. And I'll just queue up the video. Can you see that, Michelle?
I sure can.
Super, let's play.
In your web browser address bar, if you navigate to endpoint.microsoft.com, you'll be prompted to log in to the Azure AD with your own company credentials. Once logged in, you'll be taken to the Endpoint Manager homepage where you can access all the services that allow you to manage your Tenzig Windows 10 Thin Clients. If you click on All Services in the left-hand menu, and then Devices, All Devices, you'll be able to see any endpoints already being managed in your Azure Active Directory. We can see that there is already one Windows device enrolled with a prefix name Desktop. If you click on the device in the list, you will see more relative information. Notice on this screen you can perform specific client-side tasks such as delete, wipe, and even remotely restart the unit. Before we enroll our Windows Thin Client, we are going to set up a couple of very useful groups in the Azure AD. The first one is going to be called Tenzig Users Device Enrollment, and the second one is going to be Tenzig Devices. The Tenzig Users Device Enrollment group will contain any of our Azure AD users that have the privilege to enroll devices at the client end. We don't want everyone to be able to enroll devices without our consent, and we can use this group later when we need to be selective about our enrollment process. The second group, Tenzig Devices, is where our device will belong once we enroll it successfully. I will show you how to be selective about which devices can join this group during the actual group creation process. To create the user enrollment group, select All Services, Groups, and click the New Group link. You'll now see the group creation page that will enable you to set up your first AD user group to enroll devices in. Select the group type to be security, as this is going to give our Azure users the privilege to enroll devices. Type in Tenzig Users Device Enrollment as the group name and give it a meaningful description below. Set the membership type to be assigned because we want to add users manually in this example. Now click the No Owners Selected link and add your own user as the owner of the group. Do this by searching for your user, highlight it in the results, and click Select. Next, click No Members Selected and add your own user again. This time as a member that will be able to enroll Thin Clients later. Just as before, search for your user, highlight, and click Select. Once you've completed filling in this form, then simply click Create and you will see a notification message displayed showing the creation was successful. To create the device group for our endpoints, select All Services, Groups, and click the New Group link as we did before. Select the group type to be security again and type in Tenzig Devices as the group name and give it a meaningful description as we did before. We need to set this membership type to be dynamic device because we don't want to manually add devices each time they enroll. Imagine how much extra effort this would take if your device estate was in the thousands. Now, click the No Owners Selected link and add your own user as the owner of the group. Do this by searching for your user, highlight it in the results, and click Select. Clicking Add Dynamic Query will give you the ability to create expression statements that will determine which devices can belong to the group. We are going to use the display name or computer name on our thin client to query our endpoints that we wish to group in here. Under the Property section, we select Display Name, select the operator to be Starts With, as we want to include devices in this group that start with a particular computer name, and then type in desktop-L0C in the value column. This expression will now only include enrolled devices in this group where the local computer name starts with the words desktop-L0C. Once you're happy with this evaluation statement, then click Add Expression and you will see the expression appear in the rule syntax box below. Notice that if you want to be more specific in the rule set, you have the ability to add more. Click Save to return to the new group form and click Create. Remember to look out for the notification message displayed showing the creation was successful. Before we move on, we'd like to point out that the complementary Enterprise Tenzig Manager also has the capability to create bespoke custom groups for our devices. Inside Tenzig Manager, if you right-click on the Thin Clients group and select New and Group, you can create a subgroup called Tenzig Devices. Give it a meaningful name tick Filter by Computer Name and click OK. Click Edit Computer Name List, Add, and then type in Desktop ? The last two digits are wildcards and will group devices that match desktop followed by any other set of characters. Click OK twice and then right-click your group name and select Repopulate. Click OK and you'll see your thin client that starts with desktop appear in the client list on the right. We're almost ready to enroll our very first device into Endpoint Manager. We need to do one last thing, and that's configure the environment so that every time a device is joined to the Active Directory, they are automatically enrolled in Endpoint Manager. Inside the portal menu, select All Services, Devices, and click Enroll Devices. In the General section, click on the Automatic Enrollment link and you'll be taken to the Configure screen. This is where we tell Endpoint Manager which user group will allow automatic MDM enrollment when the device is joined to the AD. We're going to let Endpoint Manager know that if any user in Tenzig Users Device Enrollment joins a Tenzig Windows Thin Client to Azure AD, then we want to enroll them automatically into the MDM environment. In the field named MDM User Scope, click Sum and then the No Group Selected link, and you will see a Select Groups window open to the right. In the search box at the top right of the screen, start typing the user group name Tenzig Users Device Enrollment. Once it appears below, highlight it and then click the Select button. Notice that the groups field on screen should now show one group selected as highlighted in blue. Click Save and wait for the success notification message. Now we're ready to physically join the Tenzig Windows 10 Thin Client to the Azure Active Directory and watch it automatically enroll in Endpoint Manager. On your Tenzig Windows 10 Thin Client, click the Start menu icon, Run, and then type in ms-settings:workplace and click OK. Then you'll see the Access Work or School page displayed. Click the plus Connect button and you'll see the Set up a Work or Education account screen. In the Alternative Actions section at the bottom left, click on the Join this device to Azure Active Directory link. On the Let's Get You Signed In page, key in your personal Azure username, click Next, key in your password for the account and click Sign In. The next screen will ask you to confirm your organisation. We're happy with this, so click Join and wait until you see the You're All Ready message and then click Done. Now you can see the devices joined to the Tenzig Technology Azure AD. Now that we have joined the Thin Client to the Azure AD, if we wait a couple of minutes and go into the Portal menu, select All Services, Devices, and click All Devices link, we can see the Tenzig Windows Thin Client listed with a recent check-in time.
So just to recap what we looked at in the first video, so we created a user group that has privileges to enroll devices, and we created a group that contains our device. Then we set auto-enrollment on so that any devices are joined to MDM as they join the AAD. And then finally, we enrolled the device. Can we have our next poll question, please, Michelle?
For sure.
Thank you.
All right, hopefully everybody's seeing this. We're curious to know, hopefully you can see the poll question. Are you already working with Microsoft Endpoint Manager? Simple yes or no, or possibly in the future? Help us out just to see where you are with Microsoft Endpoint Manager, if at all. Give it a few more seconds here. Thank you for responding. Okay. All right. Thank you so much for responding. Let me close that out and post some results for us. Okay. Jason, interesting. So at least 50% of our audience is already working with MEM, and there's your no at 10%, and possibly in the future is 40. That's strong. Thank you for that. All right, let me close this out so you can continue. Give me a minute. And I'm able to see your screen again, Jason, for video part 2.
Excellent, thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
So this is the second of the video demos, and it focuses on creating a configuration profile to put your device in kiosk mode, running a single application. And then at the end of that, we'll show you how to connect into the Azure Virtual Desktop. So here comes part 2 now.
In this section, we show you how to create a custom Windows kiosk shell using a configuration profile that leverages Microsoft's Shell Launcher version 2 on the remote Tenzig Thin Client. We can also set the configuration profile to auto-log on each time the device restarts. You may be familiar with the Tenzig UWF wizard that comes as part of the standard Tenzig Windows client build. This can also create a custom shell for you to run single Win32 or UWP apps and give your users a securely managed desktop experience. We are going to create a configuration profile that will target a CSP or configuration service provider on the Windows 10 Thin Client. Select All Services, Devices, and under the heading Policy, click Configuration Profiles. Click Create Profile. Select Windows 10 or later from the platform drop-down list and select Templates as the profile type. Beneath the template name, click Custom and Create. In the Custom Profile Section 1, use a meaningful name. I'm going to call this Tenzig Kiosk AVD and give it a meaningful description. Click Next to move on to the next section. Inside the Configuration Settings tab, we are going to target the assigned access CSP on the Windows client and pass it an XML string. This will set up the user Kiosk User 0 and set its single shell application and also set it to auto log in after a restart. Click Add and the right side form will appear. We add in the name Assigned Access Launcher 2 . Give it a description and use the specific OMA URI so that the thin client knows which specific setting we are aiming for. This CSP is going to be /device/vendor MSFT assigned access shell launcher. Click the data type drop down and select string XML file. We are going to locate the XML file that contains a string to configure the custom shell on the thin client. In the Custom XML section, click the Open File dialog, browse to the location of your XML file, mine's in c:/temp and called shell launcher auto-logon-avd.xml. Select this file and click Open. The contents of the XML file will appear in the Custom XML field on the form. At the bottom of the Add Row screen, click Save and you'll see your OMA URI listed on screen. Click Next to move on. On the Assignments section of the configuration profile, we click Add Groups and then select Groups to Include. We type in the name Tenzig Devices and then highlight the item in search results and click Select. Click Next and Next because we know what devices we want to target, and then click Create. Make sure you know exactly which devices you intend to target here, as any in this group will put the thin client in kiosk single application mode. Always test any config changes on a sample of lab devices to be safe. Now we will force the thin client to sync with Endpoint Manager to get its changes immediately. So we go to All Services, Devices, and All Devices. Click on our device, then click Sync in the top menu and say yes to the sync question. If we go back and click Refresh, then we see the client has recently checked in. Remember, this may take a couple of minutes, so be patient. Once we see that the client has checked in, we can reboot the Tenzig device and see what happens. Once the client has rebooted, notice that it automatically logs in as kiosk user, and if we wait a little longer, it launches the single application MSRDCW that gives us access to our WVD AVD environment. If we click Subscribe, we are able to sign into the WVD environment that is already set up for us. I type in my user and domain and click Next. Then I key in my password and click Sign In. I have MFA or multi-factor authentication set up for this particular user, so I can either have secure access codes sent to a device of my choice which in this case is my phone, or you can install Microsoft's Authenticator app for Android or iOS. I'm using the Authenticator app, so I'll just key that in now. Now that I have subscribed, I get access to all the resources assigned to my user account. I can double click onto my support desktop, key in my password, and just wait a few seconds, and I'm logged into my Windows Virtual Desktop.
Okay, so part 2 summary. So just to recap what we looked at in the second video, we create the configuration profile to set the device in kiosk mode, running the single remote desktop application. And then we showed the connection to my Azure Virtual Desktop in the cloud. So can we have our third and final poll question, please, Michelle?
For sure. Let me launch this
Thank
one
you.
for me. So this is a great question. Would you like to receive a Tenzig demo device to test in your own environment? It's a great opportunity. It's a 30-day demo, and there's no obligation. So you can simply click yes, which is my choice, of course, no, potentially later, or I would like you to email me in a few months for a demo. If you do click that, I guarantee you that we will remember and we'll follow up with you. So take a few minutes, digest it. Again, it's no obligation. We're always here for you. You can also find the free demo online at tenzig.com. And I'll just give this a few more seconds to run. Great, nice to see folks want us to email them later. That's good news. Just a few more seconds we'll hold out, and then I'll pass it back over to Jason. I think we're good there. Thanks again for participating in all 3 poll questions. Really appreciate it. All right, Jason.
Super, thanks very much.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, everyone, that wraps up my part of the presentation. Thanks for watching. And as promised, I'm going to hand you over to Tony Kai, and he's going to introduce us to Nerdio and their offerings.
All right, thanks for the very interesting setup and demo of Microsoft Endpoint Manager. I learned a couple things myself. So I do want to reiterate the notion of trying a demo is actually really cool. You know, I always refer my partners to actually encourage them to try the environment, because once you try it, I would say 9 out of 10 people like it, and they actually sign up to go ahead and use it. So let me make sure I can share my screen. You guys can see my screen already, right? Is that right?
Absolutely.
Michelle?
Yes, I can see it. Everything
All right.
great, and I can see you as well.
All right, perfect. Okay, so thank you for that. And so we want to kind of take this and talk about not only from the endpoint side, but from the cloud management side, right? And that's really where the Nerdio product comes in. For those who have not heard about Nerdio, Nerdio is a Azure Virtual Desktop and Windows 365 deployment, management, pricing, and auto-scaling optimization platform for both enterprises and managed service providers. So that's we're technically known as a Microsoft ISV. So we create software that enables service providers and internal IT to better manage their Azure Virtual Desktop and Windows 365 deployments. So we actually have 2 products at Nerdio, and I'll spend a little time on both. But the first product that we have is something called Nerdio Manager for Enterprise. It's a single tenant Azure application that sits inside of the customer's tenant, and it serves almost like an alternate Azure portal to help help IT people manage their AVD deployments much better, right? So, you know, guys like Citrix and VM Horizons, those guys have been around for a very long time, supply tremendous value to the EUC community for many years. And we were very happy to see, you know, Azure come out with their own sort of desktop as a service solution. You know, first called Windows Virtual Desktop, then got renamed a couple of months ago to Azure Virtual Desktop, and back in August, they more recently came out with a new DAS service called Windows 365. And our tool really leverages and manages both and help optimize to bring the enterprise class features you're sort of very used to with Citrix and Horizon perhaps, that isn't necessarily present inside the native Azure portal to manage AVD and Windows 365. So we bring the level of management back to the enterprise to really make AVD an enterprise ready product. So I'll give you the high level of Nerdio, right? So Nerdio Manager extends the native Azure Virtual Desktop and Windows 365 capabilities. It's very important to understand when you're using Nerdio, there is no proprietary software or presentation layer technology. You know, like Citrix has the ICRP protocol and VMware had the, you know, PC over IP, you know, those protocols that enhance the pixel delivery of apps and desktops. With Azure Virtual Desktop, Microsoft uses the native RDP protocol with extra enhancements, right, that bring some of the features we know and like from those enterprise solutions, such as you know, Teams and Zoom optimization and multimedia offloading. Those things are now available in Azure Virtual Desktop, but the native solution is weak in certain areas around IT management, and that's really where Nerdio comes in and fills the gap. We help with automated deployment, extending and managing your existing AVD environment, or go ahead and create new ones. And we help optimize to reduce cost, right? Where we can dynamically spin up new session hosts, take them away when you don't need them. And as a result, partners that currently work with Nerdio are seeing about an 80% savings from an Azure consumer revenue perspective when using Azure Virtual Desktop with Nerdio versus just using it natively. So our second product was just actually born out of our enterprise products. Our enterprise product got so much traction, people liked it so much that partners in our managed services space said, hey, you know, we love what you're doing with the enterprise product. Can you make something like that for the MSP? So what we did was we took the code base of the enterprise product and we made it so the application actually installs on the MSP's Azure tenant. And it's really a multiple CSP management interface that manages multiple customers using a single Nerdio interface that manages the entire IT stack. So I'll be doing a live demo to show you sort of the ins and outs and the highlights of Nerdio. I only have a couple of minutes to present this, but hopefully you'll sort of get the idea of what we're all about. And then I'll sort of end it off with any questions anybody might have, or like Michelle said, we might, depending on time, leave it at the end. So, so I just want to do a quick sort of education thing, right? You know, before showing you a demo. But a typical Azure Virtual Desktop deployment, when it comes to the actual compute itself, the actual virtual desktop component of a typical Azure build, you know, a typical Azure Virtual Desktop can be broken down in this sort of pie chart, right? So if you think about compute, right, the rented VM that runs the virtual desktop, that's roughly about 70% of a average desktop's cost is the actual compute. And then you have the operating system disk, right? That C drive that runs that Windows 10 or Windows 11 OS. That's typically about 12%, right? C drive premium disk, 128 gig. That's about $18, $19 in the US. And then you have a FSLogix profile storage, right? Where your users' profiles actually get stored. They're typically in something called Azure Files, or if you're a large organization, you might be using NetApp files. But FSLogix storage per user is roughly about 9% of the overall total cost of, you know, the TCO of a Azure Virtual Desktop. Then you got networking, you know, so like I/O read writes to disk if you're not using any premium disks. Your bandwidth considerations, or any pixels that are being drawn back to your thin client on premise, there is an egress transfer cost. That's about 3%. And then you have your other miscellaneous items that roughly about 6%. So this whole thing encompasses the 100% of what a typical Azure Virtual Desktop deployment costs. So how does really Nerdio help? Or Nerdio does many things, but one of their key bread and butter features is the ability to save you a lot of money, right? So a typical Nerdio customer will save more than the cost of Nerdio licensing within the 6 days of the use. And then they basically have 3 more weeks in the month to reap the benefits of the cost savings that Nerdio can help you save. So if you think about that chart I showed you, right, the previous slide about what the components come, you know, what the costs come from and which components it comes from an average virtual desktop. I'll show you ways that Nerdio actually, 6 ways that Nerdio actually saves you, in this example, up to 83% off the total cost of ownership of a AVD deployment, right? So we have some assumptions here. If you look at the tiny bottom little notes there, the assumption is, for example, you have an 192 user environment. The environment consists of heavy users. What we did here was 2 CPUs, 2 users per vCPU core. The machine that we selected to use an example is an 8-core 32 gig RAM machine, a D8 SV4, and it's using a P10 or 120 gig premium SSD. Right, the average user profile is 20 gigs using Azure Files Premium, and the average amount of hours this particular company works is, let's say, 50, and they're in the South Central US, right? So we all know that every data center or region you pick has a different cost for the same product, but those are the assumptions that made up this chart. So let's quickly go over it. So if you look at the first row, it's an unoptimized AVD environment. So customers that are currently using AVD without any management tool like Nerdio, that's what we call sort of an unoptimized environment. So we go across the top, we have compute with that environment at around $4,000. You have an OS disk that's consists of multiple session hosts. So those premium disks add up to $215 per, for the entire host pool. Your FSLogic storage is about $737. Your total monthly cost about $4,000, almost $5,000 USD. And then if you break that down to 192 users, it's about $25 per user per month for 192 users to have a desktop pool like that, right? So if you start looking at the ways that Nerdio can actually save money, the first thing we could do is actually simply just shut down or deallocate machines when they're not in use at night. So if you think about a typical 40 or 55-hour work week, there's more hours when the user is not working and they're spending time at home with family. And in those times, you don't have to have a VM on. We can very intelligently, smartly deallocate those machines so you don't have to pay for that VM being on. Remember that 70% of compute, that's the cost savings of having things turned down. And that alone will save you about 57% off of the unoptimized Azure Virtual Desktop deployment, right? And so we also have something where we call just-in-time provisioning. So let's say you do need additional VMs during the day. So let's say you're starting your day at 8 a.m. There's an initial group of people logging in, and then there's more people that gradually logs in throughout the day. So instead of turning everything on at the beginning of the day, we can actually gradually turn it on when they need, right? So doing that will save an additional percent, bring that to 58%. In some instances, when you have VMs on all the time, always do a reserve instance for 3 years. Little secret, Microsoft doesn't actually charge any penalties for actually discontinuing a reserve instance. So there's theoretically no risk to applying for a 3-year reserve instance. Doing that will increase your cost savings to about 73%. Then you can auto scale your C drives as well. Remember that C drive that's 128 gig premium SSD I was talking about before? Well, not only do you save money when the VM is deallocated on compute, but you actually, if you don't do anything about those C drives and you leave them on premium SSDs, you pay the full 18 USD per managed disk when that thing is set up. So what we can do actually is when the machines deallocate, we can actually take that premium SSD and spin the tier down to a standard spinning disk, where that's sub $3 per month. So we can take any premium disks from a deallocated machine, switch it to a standard spinning disk, saving even more money. So that's 74% savings. We can take things like operating system disks that typically only fit on 120 gig hard drives. We can shrink the OS down to 64 gigs to save you even more money. So you can actually perhaps use ephemeral OS disks if you want the speed and agility without the network latency. Down to a much smaller VM size, you can take advantage of that, right? So all those things combined, shrinking FSLogics, auto scaling Azure Files, giving you the quota you need when your performance is needed, but then at night when nobody's using it, shrinking the FSLogics quota down by 50%, it will save you, up to 83%. So that's an example of some of the capabilities that Nerdio can do on the optimization side, and that's a very small piece of what Nerdio can help you with. But I think that's the one that kind of wakes most people up because it's talking about cost savings from an Azure Virtual Desktop deployment. So a lot of people always ask me, well, Azure is expensive, and it certainly is if you don't optimize. And here we're showing you different ways that Nerdio can help you optimize, help you get save costs on AVD. So here I'm gonna actually exit out of my screen and show you a live demo of Nerdio. I'll just kind of take you through a quick walkthrough, and then we'll come back to the slides. So like I said, we have 2 products. This one is Nerdio Manager for Enterprise, and this other one I have in my other tab is called Nerdio Manager for MSP. right? The underlying code is very similar, but there are key differences between the two products. This product is installed in the customer's actual tenant. So if you're a internal IT, this Nerdio Manager for Enterprise will actually install inside your own tenant. It's an Azure application. The way you log into this enterprise application is using your existing Azure AD credentials. So what I like to think about this in layman's terms, it's a alternate Azure portal that manages Azure Virtual Desktop much better than the native AVD portal, right? So here I have some dashboards that show you some specs on how many users there are, how many concurrent users, session hosts, CPUs. I can go to my workspaces and get a list of all my host pools. For example, in this very messy demo environment, I have tons and tons of different host pools with different names. We can do multi-session pool desktops, multi-session remote app, single user personal, single user pooled. Right here in this column, you can kind of see how many people are assigned to the host, how many people are currently logged in, how many session hosts are online versus how many are on standby. You could very quickly take a look at the auto scaling parameters. You can see what image this session host is using, right? And then lastly, you can see the cost savings per host pool, depending on how you scale these machines. Right? If you click on any of these host pools, you'll see internally these individual session hosts that make up these host pools. Right? You can kind of do like very quick things like turn things off, things like that. Here next to each host pool option, we have a lot of settings where you can assign users, install applications, set up app attach, set up remote apps. You can configure auto scaling. You can have Nerdio analyze your existing environment. So if you have an existing AVD environment, you can bolt Nerdio on and we can analyze your current usage and give you recommendation on how to auto scale and how to get the best pricing. So I'll quickly go over auto scaling. We have different algorithms. We can auto scale based on CPU, based on RAM, based on average active session, based on the fact that let's say you don't want more than 12 people on a session host, and during your work hours you want 5 additional available login slots. Maybe during after hours you only want 1. You can kind of configure all these settings without using DevOps, without knowing code, and that's the power of Nerdio. We've already built all this stuff out, and all you have to do is kind of select what you want, how you want the host pool to behave, and we'll execute it. And this last one is basically, when the last person logs off, wait 10 minutes and then power down the session host or completely remove it, unjoin it from your domain. When you need it again, it'll create from the golden image, rejoin the domain, and then install the AVD agent and let your users start logging in. So it's very flexible. You can use this tool to, pre-stage machines. So say 8 o'clock, I want, 5 session hosts running. By 10 a.m., I want more session hosts running. On weekends, I want a different amount. You can play with all these settings and get exactly what you need. We support Windows 365 as well. The other big area that Nerdio is a great help with is around your desktop images. So natively, if you were trying to patch or add software to your image, it's a multi-step process. You got to create a VM from it, log into the VM, install your software, sysprep it, remove all your Microsoft Store apps that break sysprep, and seal it as a shared gallery image, distribute or give shared gallery image across multiple regions if you need that. But here in Nerdio, you just simply power it on, make your change, click power off and set as image, and Nerdio takes care of all those multiple steps and prepares your image for distribution. Right, so we support app attach and the whole 9. So that's a quick overview of the enterprise tool. And then the MSP tool is largely the same thing, except we manage multiple customers using the same interface. So this tool, Nerdio Manager for MSP, would be installed on the managed service providers tenant, and it can reach out to as many CSP customers as you want, and create service principal accounts to be able to connect them. And if I click manage on one of them, let's just pretend I'm going to log into this Tesla account. I'm going to click manage, and you can see what's different about Nerdio Manager for MSP is that Nerdio Manager for MSP manages the entire Microsoft 365 stack, the AVD host pool stack, Intune. So you can, where 10zig leaves off with managing devices, we take over with managing the distribution of applications, right? You can manage your servers, your networking, your VNets, your VPNs, your gateways, your NAT gateways, auto scaling of Azure files, backup, the entire IT stack that a typical SMB customer would need you to manage when in Azure is all a point and click button here on the left side. All right, so again, Nerdio Manager hyper-focuses on Nerdio Manager for Enterprise, hyper-focuses on just the AVD management, whereas Nerdio Manager for MSP focuses on AVD, Windows 365, and the entire rest of the IT stack. So that's the quick and dirty demo. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll come back to this, and I'll sort of continue summarizing what you just saw, right? So again, Nerdio Manager extends the native Azure Virtual Desktop experience and Windows 365, right? We are a non-proprietary native tool, meaning we don't, again, there's no presentation layer technology, there's no gateway services, agents, or anything running in your AVD environment. It just uses native Azure API to do everything I just showed you. And it really should seal the gap and close the gap on things that are missing that's preventing AVD to really be easily deployed, managed, and optimized, right? So I talked about some of these things already. And so just a summary, it's really for enterprise organizations with internal IT or managed service providers who are looking to deploy, manage AVD or Windows 365 environments. Intuitive, powerful UI that makes deployment management and all aspects of AVD and optimization all point and click. And it's got a very unique auto scale engine that helps you save way more money, right? So an average Nerdio partner saves about 70 to 80% compared to what they're currently paying with their non-optimized version of a AVD deployment. So I think that is my last slide. This is my contact information if you guys want to get in touch with me. Michelle, what do you want to do? Do you want to do Q&A or should we table that?
Well, we are going to follow up. We have about 5 minutes left, and we are going to follow up with some Q&A questions. I was sorting through them while you were speaking. By the way, that was phenomenal. A tremendous amount of information in a small amount of time. So awesome.
I talk fast. I'm sorry,
yeah,
guys.
no, it's good, and I'm glad we have this recorded as well, so I can go back through it myself. But one question that came up, and of course we'll answer all the real more technical, high-level, detailed ones post-event, was how you're associated with us. I know you have a history a little bit with 10-Zig technology. I don't know if you wanted to just briefly mention the connection there. And there was a great comment I want to bring up before you have to sign off as well. So
yeah. So we've been working with 10-Zig now. So a lot of people who use or especially during the pandemic who've adopted Azure Virtual Desktop, they always ask me, well, what are people doing with their devices that they use to access virtual desktops, right? A lot of managed service providers always ask me, it's sort of a disadvantage because now I have to manage my cloud environment and manage my physical machine. I'm like, well, you don't really have to manage your physical machine if you kind of turn around and offer them a thin client, because the management of a thin client is much less than a full-featured Windows 10 machine. And they go, okay, well, what's a thin client? Because a lot of people didn't really have experience with the thin client. Now, well, it runs a stripped down version of Windows 10 called Windows 10 IoT, and it comes with a 10-Zig thin client management tool. So really, I started working with 10-Zig, not out of a sort of a strategic thing, but really out of necessity, because people were always asking me questions about, okay, great, you solve all the issues of managing the cloud environment. What about my physical environment? What do I do with that, right? So it just naturally came, Michelle. We would never really, officially said, hey, let's do this together. Right. But it just, people just asked, and you guys were always a great fit, right? You guys were very strong in the Windows 10 management space, right? You guys have Linux thin clients as well. Sure. But because of the way that Microsoft has released their Linux SDK, there's a lot of things from a AVD optimization standpoint that you can do with Windows-based thin clients that you really can't yet with Linux thin clients. So you guys were the go-to, and it was so obvious.
And that's fantastic. Thanks for that summary. So enter Carl Bell, our regional sales manager for 10-Zig, and the connection there as well. And before you sign off, just real quick, because I know you have a hard stop, Eric, he had just mentioned he had to drop off. He said, great stuff. Always loved Nerdio. Even more up to speed. Had no idea who 10-Zig was. So thank you very much. I thought that was a really great comment. But yeah, we will definitely follow up with you. I will follow up with you with everything from today, including who participated and any tech questions as well. So thank you, Tony.
Awesome. Thanks for the opportunity. And thank you, everybody. Thanks, Michelle. Thanks, Jason.
Thank you. Okay. And we're going to close out. If you just want to pass it back to me, Tony, when you get a chance. And we'll do a quick summary, a little bit of housekeeping, and wrap things up for everybody. Thanks again, Tony.
You got it.
Okay. Thanks, Tony.
All right, Jason, can you help me out and let me know if I am on our closing screen?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Let me bring up the video for it.
Super.
All right. This has been a lot of fun and I learned a lot. So thanks, Jason, as well. I know you put a lot of work into it. And it's so awesome that not only will we have the entire webinar, but we have the demo educationals broken out. For a couple people mentioned audio on the videos. I don't know if it was a settings issue, but just so you know, the specific demo videos that Jason did today will be put up on the YouTube channel on tenzig.com, as well as we have our own video gallery, which is a home to all of the same exact videos that you find on Tenzig YouTube.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
sorry, just to chip in there, Michelle. There's an actual dedicated Microsoft Endpoint Manager video already out there, which is a little bit more comprehensive, and it's about 32 minutes long, and it also looks at things like application deployment as part of it as well. So and also just to mention something that Tony talked about in his presentation, he talked about package deployment, software deployment to your endpoints. Well, just to let you know that the Tenzig Manager also has provision for that, and it has a package manager built in, so that can also look at deploying bespoke applications to your endpoints too.
Oh, great reminder. That's actually can be even part of the free demo device program. That's nice. Thank you for reminding me about that. So yeah, everybody that's still with us, thank you. It looks like everybody that joined on at the beginning of the event is pretty much still here. A couple real quick housekeeping mentions, and then we'll let you go to have an awesome rest of your day. There will be a little survey coming your way, should be headed your way if you let us know how we did, how we can improve. Again, just want to mention one more time, you'll get a link to the webinar, if not the actual recording itself. We will be following up on all questions and any comments as well. You'll be notified who won the $200 Amazon gift card by email. And then just some resources for you moving forward. You can see them on the screen on the left-hand side there. If you go to tenzig.com, you can see our video gallery. And again, there's the partial URL there for you. A VDI blog, just a ton of information. Updated on a monthly basis, essentially. Our free demo as well. I just want to mention for fun that, of course, you can find Tenzig Technology on social media, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. Yeah, check out your free demo. That's really where you experience the power, speed, and performance of Tenzig. And thank you, Jason. Thank you, Tony, who's had to leave already. Happy holidays. Everybody be safe. And we'd like to do this again, a new topic in the first quarter of next year. Jason, did you want to add anything else before we sign off?
No, that's fantastic. I just wanted to thank everyone for attending today. And enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks very much.
Thanks, everyone. We'll be talking soon. Bye-bye.